Hey guys, so it's just me. It kind of sucks. I know. It's always nice to have multiple people and be able to kind of chat about different things, but unfortunately, Noah is a little busy right now. School is tough. School is very tough. I mean, I feel the same way, but I like to do the podcast, so I'll keep it going. So I guess let's start this. So I'm Christian, and let's get baseball blitzing. So when we last talked, there were multiple options that were already talked about, and there was a few more within the last day of the podcast. So there, we need to talk about those. So there were 5 teams that actually did things. So there was Jose Iglesias option was picked up. He's a very good choice. He keeps having great years, and I think he's going to continue having great years. I think the O's might not be a good choice for him to stay much longer past the option, maybe even be traded, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. The Red Sox actually did 2 separate things. They opted out on Martin Perez, which is very odd because, I mean, he was loved by them. Everybody loved him. So it'll be weird to see. Although I read a thing from Jared Carabas that was talking about how if they opted out of Perez's contract, then they could enter again, which would be nice for them. They love him. I know for me, for example, I don't really see him as a Cub. I saw him as a Red Sox. So we'll have to see if he goes back or if they just sign him on a lighter deal. Who knows? This is basically the entire offseason is just seeing money be dumped and then not picking up heavy contracts. So, and then JD Martinez opted in on his contract. No surprises. It makes sense. Like, come on. Padres, they opted out on Millen's contract, which was a little shocking to me. I got to say that it was a very odd change because he had a great 2020, especially more than what he normally produces, what he does. So I kind of thought that maybe they would have liked to have him for a little bit longer, but I guess not. I'm going to fix the camera. And hey, how unprofessional is that? Okay. So, yeah, that's kind of awesome to see that he'll be out there. Maybe he'll go back to the Red Sox. That would be nice. Or maybe they're just again looking for a smaller contract because it was a decent amount of money. Let's see here. If I ever look down, I'm looking at a notepad because I write down all that weekly stuff because it's what I do. The D-backs, they picked up Merrill Kelly's option. Again, great choice. He's an awesome pitcher, and I think he's going to be great for the D-backs again this upcoming year. So it's worth it. I mean, most of these contracts that the teams actually chose were great contracts. I just kind of expected some of the ones that they opted out of to also keep. And then the Mets had player opt-ins. Jeez, I am stuttering. Where there was Brad Brach and then there was Dellin Betances. They both opted in on their own contracts. That's great for the Mets. I mean, they might be a little overpaid, but they're great relievers, and hopefully this next year they produce. We'll just have to wait and see to find out. So much happened this week, and it feels very weird because just like the title, my brain hurts. So many different things bouncing off the walls, trying to keep up with, especially because it feels like it was forever that it happened. For example, qualifying offers. That's been long done, but it did happen this week. We had the Mets. They gave a qualifying offer to Stroman. Made sense. Keep in mind, all these made sense. The overarching story is that there wasn't enough of the qualifying offers, which, I mean, what can you do with the landscape money-wise right now? But the owners have a lot of money, so it's kind of a stupid excuse. The Giants, they did Kevin Gausman, starting pitcher. He started getting better this year, so I think it was a good choice. Yankees, they did it to LeMahieu. Phillies did to Realmuto. The Reds did it to Bauer, but he was the only one that anybody's heard that has actually declined. They just have to wait it out because apparently when a qualifying offer is extended, this is new information that I never knew. I'm sure many fans of baseball already knew this, but both the player and the club have to decline before it actually comes out. Otherwise, it'll never come out. So Bauer said he declined on Twitter, which, I mean, it's a little unprofessional, but it's whatever. Because honestly, I think it's a great thing that he puts himself out there. People enjoy watching him from there. So we'll let it slide. We'll let it slide. And then we have the Astros did George Springer, which I think was another good choice. I don't know. All these seem like great choices. It just seems that some teams really missed out on some great players, like Liam Hendriks from the A's. The A's were the ones that missed out, by the way, the most. Between Liam Hendriks and Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien would have 100% signed that contract for that amount of money, especially because he didn't have a great year this year. So his stock isn't that high, even though he had a third place MVP year the year before. So it'll be interesting to see how much money some of these people get if they decline, which I believe LeMahieu, Realmuto, Bauer already said he did, and then Springer will. I think and I think this is the general opinion that Stroman and Gausman will both agree because they either because it's a short season or they don't normally earn that much money and want to prove themselves, or for Stroman, it was that he opted out, and the last time he played, he had an injury. So, I mean, yeah, just take the 19.2 million, something like that. Yeah, take it. It's great money. The finalists for all the awards came out, and then some of the awards actually did come out. Oh, all the finalists. So many finalists. The lists are long. So long. I do enjoy reading these sometimes because they're just fun to compare and go out there and be like, oh, which one do you think will win? Some people have different opinions, but this year I think was a special year because I don't think there was that much of a difference in opinion for most of the awards. So I'll kind of say who won, who is the finalist. But I will also mention my prediction, as is I think most people's predictions. So we'll go from there anyway. So the MVP finalists for the National League was Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Manny Machado. I feel like it's Freddie Freeman. That's a pretty easy guess. Mookie Betts had a great year, but Freddie Freeman had an absolutely dominant year. The only thing that is a little bit confusing about this section is that Juan Soto's not on it. He had a fantastic year, but the one thing that I will hold against him is that he only played 48 games, while two of the three guys played 60 games, and then I believe it was Mookie Betts played 55. So I think it's not that he didn't qualify, because he 100% did. I don't know. Maybe it's just they wanted to hold back, wanted to wait for him to do another year of amazing things before he finally gets one. I don't know. But nonetheless, I think it's Freddie Freeman. The American League, it was Jose Abreu, DJ LeMahieu, and Jose Ramirez. I love seeing Jose Ramirez on there. Full stop. Because he had a fantastic year. He kind of came back to shine. And I think it's really worth it to see that he's doing a lot better than he was before. I think had this been a 162 game season, it would have been his best season. But unfortunately, 60 games, it's, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, he definitely deserves that recognition that he came back as strong as he did. But this one has to go for me to Abreu. The confusing thing for me, though, is that Shane Bieber had such a dominant pitching season that I believe he properly should have won. Or like, had he been put in the MVP conversation, he would have won. But I guess they're starting to try and now differentiate so that pitchers can't be MVPs, because that's just for the position players. I don't know. I feel like if they're going to do that, then they need a third award to be best overall, which is a little subjective, but I think it's worth doing. So on with that, the Cy Young, the American League, was Shane Bieber, Kenta Maeda, and Hyunjin Ryu. Bieber is going to win. That's pretty obvious. Triple Crown winner. It's impressive. However, I'm impressed to see that Hyunjin Ryu actually came back and had another dominant year after last year's dominance, to be in the top 3 in consecutive years in opposite leagues, which is very impressive to see, especially because the AL is more of a hitters league. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it's awesome for the Jays that they're doing so well, and I think he's definitely the leader of all that goodness that they're doing. You guys should let me know what you think in the comments or in the live chat right now if you're actually in, because it's fun stuff to talk about. Like, I think the transition would have been incredibly hard for many other players, but the fact that he did as well as he did, I am more than impressed. And then we have in the National League, this one was I'd say it was probably one of the tightest ones in the past like 5 years at least. You got Trevor Bauer, you got Jake Cronenworth, and you got Devin Williams. Or no, I'm looking at. I have it written down so close. Let me retry that. In the National League, you have Bauer, you have Yu Darvish, and then you have Jacob deGrom, which I think it's going to be Bauer, and it feels pretty confidently to be Bauer. But I think Darvish is a very, very close second. deGrom had another great year as well, but it wasn't as good as his past 2 years. So I don't think he's going to win the third Cy Young in a row. Sucks because it would have been cool. Oh well, I guess. Rookie of the year is an interesting one because there's a definite winner in the American League, but there's not so much of one in the National League. So the American League, there's Christian Javier of the Astros, Kyle Lewis of the Mariners, and then Louis Robert of the Chicago White Sox. That one feels like it's Kyle Lewis. It would have been Louis Robert, but he fell off. What was it, within the last month or so? So, I mean, 20, 25 games of fall off versus 30, 35 games of being good. Had it been even like 40, 45 games of being good, he probably could have gotten it. But Kyle Lewis was just generally dominant for his entire season. So that one feels very, very easy. And then you have in the National League, you have Baum, you have Cronenworth, and you have Devin Williams. This one I think is between Cronenworth and Williams, although I 100% would be voting for Williams because that is a incredible thing to pull off, being as good of a reliever as he was. He had a phenomenal year where he hit all the spots he needed to. Because Hader fell back just a little bit, not a crazy amount or anything like that, but just enough that he wasn't the super, super dominant pitcher reliever guy that they needed. And this season, they ended up getting like 3 guys that were all doing that on the Brewers, which I don't know what the Brewers are doing, but their relieving is second to none. And I think teams will start to take notice to that and start to either want their pitching coaches or they might try and trade for their relievers or pick up their relievers in free agency, what have you. They're impressive. I mean, the Phillies should take notice, right? So if the Phillies took some of their players, that would be great for them. Cronenworth, though, he had a fantastic year. Don't get me wrong there, but I think Devin Williams just did that much better. Manager of the year, again, this one league has it very easy, and then one league doesn't. That being the American League, very easy. Again, National League, not so much. The American League, it's got to be Kevin Cash. I kind of ranted on the guy a little bit in a Facebook group because I was not happy about him pulling Snell, but I think in general he's had some pretty bad mistakes. I don't think the Rays being great is necessarily his doing. I think it's just that these players have gotten better. They've aged. They haven't regressed if they're older, kind of thing. But and then the other 2 options don't make sense why they're there. They have one reason why they're there, and then like 2 reasons why they don't, kind of thing. Because Charlie Montoyo of the Blue Jays, go Blue Jays, woohoo! I don't think he deserves it. As a Blue Jay fan, I don't think he deserves it. Even though he brought the Blue Jays to the postseason in the second season he was in, that doesn't make sense because the amount of errors he has made when it regards like pitching changes, when it regards pinch hitters or whatever it may be, pinch runners, he made so many mistakes, and it's kind of frustrating to see because he would have been great had he not made just like those few mistakes, and the Jays would have done even better. I would argue to say they could have borderline been like a 30-38 win team from those few mistakes. Like they cost 5-6 games. And they were all mostly at the beginning of the first like 10-15 games where it was almost like he was trying to learn how to be a manager again. I think he's starting to get it now, but too little too late a little bit. And he definitely doesn't deserve it. Edgar Renteria is it's funny for him because he's not a manager right now, especially I don't think he won't be at all this year coming up. He didn't do great this year, but the Chicago White Sox impressed. I don't think it was because he did so well. I think it was because the players did so well. And I mean, you look at what the Chicago White Sox did last year and then what they did this year. That wasn't because of him. That was because they vastly upgraded their player base in the offseason last year. They were like one of the top teams last year's offseason. So I don't see why anybody could even possibly think to say that it would be him, because it wasn't him. They probably should have done even better than they did. And then the fact that they failed so horribly in the postseason is purely his fault. I 100% believe it was Edgar Renteria's fault. So him being fired makes sense. They need to bring in somebody good. There's not a ton left, but I do think Sam Fuld, who is going to be for the, I believe it was for the Red Sox, but Alex Cora came in, which we'll speak about in a little bit. I think he would have been the perfect choice for it. So, but I guess we'll have to wait and see who they choose. And then the National League, we have Don Mattingly of the Marlins, David Ross of the Cubs, and then Jace Tingler, I think, of the Padres. This one is tough, like for all different reasons. The only reason I would say that it's as tough as it is because expectations were, all of them were broken. All, the Marlins were supposed to be this fringe team, not even supposed to make it. They were supposed to be like the Baltimore Orioles of this year, I guess, because they didn't do great this year, although they started off fantastic. And then David Ross, the Cubs were supposed to be contending, and they kind of like overperformed that until they got to the postseason. But that doesn't count. So lucky for them, I guess, in that sense. And then Jace Tingler, oh my gosh, the Padres. I can talk great things about the Padres all day. They're fantastic. They did as well as they did, although I don't think he will win just because the Padres were already getting up there, getting better. They didn't really add a ton this year other than until they got to the trade deadline. And then I don't think it was because of him. I think it was because the player base was fantastic. I think this one will probably go to Don Mattingly because the Marlins were, I think I wrote something about it, how they were supposed to be projected as like the third or fourth worst team, and they ended up being like the 14th best. I mean, they made it to the playoffs, so it had to be top 16. I think they were like 14th best or something like that, because they did better than the Brewers, and they did they did better than the Brewers, and I'm like 100% confident they did better than the Astros, because I think they were the worst postseason team to get in, kind of like their regular season record wise. So I think it's going to be Don Mattingly. They just did fantastic. So we'll go into small news before we go into the awards, like the Gold Gloves and the Silver Sluggers. The Blue Jays made the first pickup this offseason, which, well, not really pickup, re-sign. It was fantastic, and I think it's a great choice. Everybody thinks it's the choice to make. Is Robbie Ray signs with them for 1 year to prove himself for $8 million, which is a fantastic contract because it's relatively cheap. And Robbie Ray was starting to show signs of being fantastic this year, especially because Arizona, he wasn't great. He got traded. His ERA went down. I think it was almost 4 from like almost a 10 to a 6.5, something like that. So I think it's really worth it for them to take this risk. And then if he does well, I think he would even then again stick with the Jays because he has faith in them. They had faith in him. So I think it's worth it for them. And I think it'll be I think it'll go out great for this year. I think the Jays are actually going to sign a couple more of their players. I might mention that at the end. I think a lot of teams are going to try and sign some of their players, and I think a lot of them are actually going to be pretty successful. That's just my guess because I feel like team security is a great thing. I think it's just worth it to do that. And then Alex Cora became the manager of Boston. I've seen a bunch of Boston fans be so happy, and then fans that aren't Boston fans be incredibly upset, which is, I don't know, is that kind of ironic in a way? Because wouldn't you think Boston would be upset by that because he cheated? Not necessarily cheated, but he was, linked to it. So I don't know. It's going to be funny to see if he actually can bring them back, if they can do a good job with it. It'll be fun to see. And I think he'll do a great job personally, but I don't think he should go into it thinking that they could actually make it to the playoffs next year. I mean, he's there for up to 4 years with his 2 years and a 2-year club option, which again, another great choice because if he does bad after 2 years with a half rebuilding team, then I think it's worth it to dock him out rather than paying him the money that they're paying, which I don't think has been disclosed, but I could be wrong. But he will definitely be an interesting manager to watch for the team. I think they'll be a fun team to watch this upcoming year, anyways, with a lot of younger guys going to be playing since they're losing a lot of their older guys. And maybe Chris Sale might come back. Who knows, right? And if he'll come back to form, if he does, who knows? Again, it'll be fun to see. That the AL East to me is one of the top divisions to watch because you got the young teams that are starting to kind of rebuild. Like you got the Blue Jays, and then you got kind of the Orioles, and then you got Boston, they're starting to try and figure out what they're doing. The Yankees. For Yankee fans, it's fun to watch because they are dominant. But then for other players or other fan bases, it's fun to see because they suck sometimes. They were I think the streakiest team this past year, and it'll be fun to see if they're actually that way again. I think they probably will be because realistically they could be hot for a while and then fall off, but we'll have to wait and see. And then the Rays, of course, we already talked about those. So let's get to the awards. First, I want to talk about the new award that they brought out, the Team Gold Glove. I think this is a fantastic award. I think it's a awesome award to bring out for those who like baseball, but they think that their team overall was a fantastic team, but there was nobody that was like spot on, or there was several that were very good, but nobody got the Diamond Glove or something like that. I think it was a great choice. And it kind of showed in this year as the Cubs won it in the National League and the Indians won it in the American League. I think that's about as correct as you can possibly be. I mean, the Indians it was either 2 or 3 Gold Gloves, and in my opinion, that one of their Gold Gloves probably should have won the Diamond Glove. Sneak peek, they didn't. And then the Cubs, they had Rizzo and they had Baez. Baez probably could have won the Diamond Glove, except for there's a thing called Arenado. So poor luck, I guess. And then the same thing with the AL. Chapman could have won it had he not been injured because, he's as dominant as he is. I think him and Arenado are, they're pretty much locks for being the best defenders in the league if they're not injured. And then let's, I guess, go into individual positions. I'm probably not going to stick around too long on each one just because it's not super, super important. I guess maybe to each fan base it is, but oh well. It's my choice. So for pitching, we'll go National League first. For pitching, it was Max Fried. I don't really watch pitching defense skills. So sure, why not? I don't know. That's one that I don't really fully understand why there can be one, but I'll let it go. It doesn't really matter that much. Tucker Barnhart won the catcher position, which makes a lot of sense. He did fantastic. He changed his pitchers to be much more than they thought they could be this year. Bauer, he was known to be pretty good, a little streaky as well, but he actually made him as a full-on dominant pitcher. He's great at framing. He threw several players out. I think it was 4 or 5, which is pretty good for a 6. Or no, it wasn't 4 or 5. It was more than that. But in a 60-game season, that's pretty impressive. And then first baseman, it's Anthony Rizzo. He's a lock. Makes sense. Second baseman, Colton Wong. He's a lock. He was opted out, so I don't know what's going to happen there. Shortstop, Javi Baez, lock. Third baseman, Arenado, lock. Left field, Tyler O'Neill. I was impressed because it's not his rookie year, but it kind of felt that way because he didn't get a lot of playing time. So I think it's impressive that he did as well as he did. And then Trent Grisham for center field, which again makes sense, but I don't know that that'll necessarily be a lock for that long. We'll have to wait and see. I think Cody Bellinger probably could have actually won that one, but we'll let it slide. And then right field with Mookie Betts, which again, that one makes a lot of sense too. We can accept these things because they make sense. Acceptance. Then we also have in the American League, we have Griffin Canning of the Angels, that one, sure. Again, I don't know. I don't like. I watch pitching or pitchers for pitching. I don't really watch them for their fielding, so I can't really say too much about that. Roberto Perez of the Cleveland Indians, he was the one that I believe should have won the Diamond Glove. I don't. Evan White of the first base Seattle Mariners, he did fantastic this year as well. The Seattle Mariners actually had a lot of good defensive players, which was not necessarily a shock to some people, but it impressed me. I was impressed. Cesar Hernandez, second base, Indians, again, it's good, good. JP Crawford, shortstop, Mariners again. Isaiah Kinner-Falefa, I think is his name, for third base, which is impressive. I think for it being kind of his first full season where he's been doing consistent play, it's worth seeing that his defense was that good for a Gold Glove. They'll want to keep him there. Hopefully, maybe his bat can get a little bit better. Alex Gordon won the left field, which I actually kind of argued on another Facebook group that I do arguing on Facebook groups. That's all I do. I have opinions on baseball, and some people don't like them, but it's whatever. You can have your own opinion. I don't think Alex Gordon should have won the left field Gold Glove, although spoilers, he won the Diamond Glove. I think that's partially just for like as the Kansas City Royals Twitter page said, it's a bit of a swan song. They just kind of wanted to make it a good send off. Maybe not saying his defense was bad, but Kyle Tucker was better. Lourdes Gurriel was better. I can't see either of them being worse than him. And then out of all the American League players being the Diamond Glove, you cannot tell me that. You can't tell me that. That's not how this works. So, oh, well, I guess, but come on. Be better. Be better. Luis Robert won the center field Gold Glove off that tirade. He definitely deserved it, although there were plenty of center fielders that should have been nominated and weren't, such as Kevin Kiermaier. How did he not get in? He should have gotten in, and not only got in, I believe he probably should have won. And if he was in, he would have won the Diamond Glove. I could almost guarantee that. But Luis Robert had good defense this year, and he was a finalist, so it made sense. Whereas Kiermaier was not a finalist for some reason or another. Who knows? And then Joey Gallo, which it's impressive to see. I think this is the most impressive thing out of most of what I've said today, is that he actually made a Gold Glove when he's known as a power guy. I love when that happens, when you have guys who are that fantastic at bats and yet they get a Gold Glove, which, I mean, come on. Double play right there. That's fantastic. I guess we should go to Silver Slugger then. Silver Slugger is the next thing to do. DH is now on both sides, which makes I like it better. I don't like the idea that they're trying to make it a bargaining chip into making 16-team playoffs. I do think they need to do it one more time, but I don't think that it should be this only happens if the playoffs get extended to 16 players or 16 teams for, whatever amount of years. I think it should just be, let's try it one more year and we'll do the DH one more year. And if we like both, we do both. If we like one, we do one. That should just be how it is, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, what the players think, all that kind of stuff, the Players Association. So for the DH on the NL side, it was Marcell Ozuna. Oh my gosh, he was fantastic. I loved watching him. He should have been a finalist in the MVP almost, like that good. And then Nelson Cruz for the DH in the American League. I don't know so much about that one. There was a bunch of DHs that could have done a little bit better. I mean, because he didn't do nearly as good this year as he did last year. But what can you do? Catcher. Salvi. Good job, Salvi. Salvador Perez, he got his bats going. And then Travis d'Arnaud made sense. It's funny because there's so many that are from the Braves that it's just impressive to see that they did so well. And then we also have Freeman from the Braves, and we got Ronald Acuna Jr. in right field. Just crazy stuff.
first baseman, so Freeman, and then there was also Jose Abreu, which is cool to see that the positions kind of match up for who got Silver Slugger and who are MVP finalists a little bit, anyways. Like Machado and Ramirez are both third base. They both got their finalists. Freeman and Abreu, they both got it. The only thing that didn't happen was Betts, who's in center field. Although I would argue, well, okay, so no, he's not center field. Let me rechange this a little bit. It's just outfield. It's just outfield. I had it written down in specific positions, but it wasn't. It was just all outfield. So let me erase that. The fact that otherwise everything was the same, but Betts being in the outfield. So for him, it was right field. And then LeMahieu is in second base, not shortstop. That's a lie. Second base, there was Donovan Solano of the Giants. That one was impressive because that team did a lot better, I think, than anybody thought they were going to do, especially because they tore down as quick as they did. Because, well, not tore down as quick as they did. They were kind of denying that they were going to be tearing down, and then they just tore down completely. And then LeMahieu, as I said before, from the Yankees. Tatis Jr., this is one thing that I also think is kind of off, is that the Padres didn't win nearly as many as you'd expect them to win. I think there's a little bit of recency bias because the Braves went off in September specifically, but the Padres were fantastic in August, July, and a good chunk of September. So it's a little confusing to see that there weren't more Padres, but recency bias, I get that. It makes sense. And I'm sure the Brave stats kind of match up a little bit better anyways. And then Tim Anderson for shortstop of the White Sox. That one, 100%, although he's kind of like LeMahieu, where I don't see them so much as power guys. I see them as the dominant, pure contact hitters type thing. But nonetheless, it's really cool to see that you can be a guy that just hits for average and still be getting Silver Sluggers. So that's pretty cool. Machado, as I said before, is third base, and then Ramirez is third base as well. They had fantastic years. I enjoyed both of them so much, and I'm glad that Machado came back to form because he was amazing in the Orioles organization. 2015, 2016, it was incredible to watch because so as a Jays fan, I got to watch them play, several times a year, like 20 plus times a year, and every single time it was always a fun game to watch, especially because you had Josh Donaldson at the time versus Manny Machado. It was like, who was better? You couldn't really decide because they were both that good. And it's fun to see now that he's back to kind of being that player. Although you shouldn't be betting your contract, Manny. Come on. And then we have Soto and Trout in the outfield. We have Betts and Hernandez, and then we have Acuna Jr. and Eloy Jimenez. I think that's how you pronounce it. If I'm wrong, that's fine. Correct me, please. But yeah, all these guys were fantastic hitters. The outfields, like I'd love to have either of these three guys in the outfield. They like both of them are like top three kind of guys, except for Teoscar Hernandez, which was one that I thought was kind of funny because he wasn't the guy coming up this year, and then all of a sudden he was that guy. So it's fun to see that he did that good, that fast. And then Eloy Jimenez, I'm glad he came back to form because he had a bit of a bad year last year. His year before was fantastic though, so no surprise there. We don't have a ton of news left. Not yet. I guess maybe what we can do is we'll look at Twitter. Let's quickly look at Twitter and see if there's anything that happened. Twitter, can't you see? I don't think there's anything. I like to keep up as much as possible, so the fact that I don't have much left and I'm at 34 minutes kind of sucks. Although, to be fair, and let me know if you guys like this length, it's shorter. It is a lot shorter, and we wanted it to be this short, or at least closer to this short, just because it's easier to make. Although if there's a lot of news, it's a little bit harder. And we want it to be fun. I understand it's not nearly as fun because it's just me, and me and Noah bouncing back together. It's a lot more fun that way. But sometimes we have life. Sometimes life is important. So sometimes we need to value that a little bit more than a baseball podcast. But for me, this time,
I like baseball podcasts better. So, so I'll do it. I'll continue doing it for as long as I can. I'm going to continue getting good stuff to upgrade. So I got lights. I have another one, but I was too lazy to put it up. I have a camera, like a new camera. It's pretty decent, but if we get some more support, we can get even newer stuff, better stuff. This mic is a pretty good mic. I also have a lapel mic, but as I found out, it's not as fantastic as I thought. It's only really good for if I'm on the move. So maybe, who knows, I'll do like a baseball vlog or something. Who knows? One of these days we'll figure out some consistency between things. But we can always upgrade. There's always things to be able to upgrade. And if you guys support, which we've already gotten so much support, our last video had like 600 views. Thank you guys so much. That's incredible. We really, really do appreciate it. It means a lot to us. And the fact that you guys can keep us going as much as you have been has been fantastic, and we appreciate it. With that, I guess we'll say goodbye, because there's nothing else, and maybe you can go watch one of our other videos. As I had said last week, we started a daily bits thing. We have 4 episodes now, and I think what I've come to is I'm probably going to do 3 to 4 episodes a week, depending on days that have info that's of importance or things that can wait, especially because some days don't have as much and some days are too busy for us. So I think we'll do 3 to 4 times a week. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. Hopefully Noel we'll be back in next week, and then we'll work on it together again. Have a good rest of your day, guys, and we'll see you next week.